Good morning, this is Bill, and we're back from the Biblical Lifestyle Center offices in Texarkana, Texas, USA. It is a pleasure to be with you on this Sabbath day, on this special time during the high holy days, as they're called. This is an honor for me to be invited into your homes or onto your computer screens, onto your smartphone screens, or wherever it is you may be tuning in from and listening. I don't take this lightly. I don't take it for granted. It is a true honor that you would consider the words that the Holy One might put in my mouth to be a blessing unto you, unto your family, unto your preparations for a new year of deployment in the kingdom, business, enterprise, and mission. So today we have the privilege of basically finishing out the narrative of the Torah. The last thing we'll have in Parsha 54, the final Parsha of the Torah, will be the blessing that Moshe leaves behind. Moses, the man of the Holy One, he will actually cease to pour out instructions and wisdom, and instead look upon each of the people before him, tribe by tribe, and he will pour out his blessing upon each. It will be a precious time. We won't do that until the Simchat Torah, the day of turning back the scroll. So this is really this Parsha 53, the next to last Parsha of Torah, is really the climax of our Torah cycle. It is this to which we have been drawn. It is this to which we have come, this to which we are invited every year. And as I begin to read Parsha Ozinu, which is our Parsha, it means give ear, or ear, your ears, his ears, give ears. It's what it means. And this Parsha begins with Deuteronomy chapter 32, verse 1. It is only one chapter, 32, 1 through 52. When I begin each year to read this Parsha, as we realize it to be a climax, a culmination, as it were, of an entire year's worth of meditation, study, recentering, walking with the Holy One in His words, through His words, trying to get closer to Him, trying to mature in the growth that He has designed to bring forth from us, I enter into Ozinu with a bit of bittersweet concern. Basically, it is that I am, first of all, so grateful to have completed another Torah cycle, or just being on the cusp, at least, of completing the Torah cycle. That's an honor, and the older we get, the more we realize, and perhaps any level of consciousness of mortality will tell you, we're not guaranteed another day, to have been given another full year, to be counseled and directed and guided and inspired and empowered by the very words of the Creator, the eternal messages of heaven to earth. Torah, that is incredibly delightful. Now, that being said, so I begin the words of Ozinu each year. I begin to read those first words, and there's a part of me wants to weep, and a part of me wants to laugh. We're entering into our season of joy, so we can't let the weeping, the bittersweet part of it, overrule the absolutely sweet part of what it is. Our Creator God has given us this opportunity. He has given us another year. May He give us many more, but may we not waste them. May we not think of them as just, another day, another week, another year. No, these are precious opportunities our Creator has afforded us, given to us, and calls us to make the most of. Parsha Ozinu. I call it, this is our story. This is our song. Subtitle it, an anthem for prodigals, for pilgrims, throughout the ages, throughout the generations. Who has an ear? He who has an ear, whoever has an ear, let him hear. Give ear to the song of Moshe. So we could start out by saying, do you hear it? Are your ears tuning into it? Is there something you sense inside you happening in response to a stimulus that you don't really understand? Well, that's what the power of the song is. This is our story. This is our song. We are not motivated by the events we see on the news. We are not defined by what some politician or some media presenter or some celebrity or some athlete has said or what they have done, whether a team has won, a team has lost, a nation has risen, a nation has fallen. Those do not define us. The song defines us. The song of our Creator defines us. So what is that amazing sound? What is that mesmerizing rhythm, that poignant sound spreading across the planet this time of year, each year? Oh, it is the song. This is our story. This is our song. All right, so let's go on into it a little bit. I want to talk to you basically about Moshe's plan as he concludes his earthly life is to say goodbye with a song. I've sort of always liked an old songwriter named Jim Croce, and one of the songs that he wrote before his plane crash that killed him was a song to his wife, and it says, "I'll have to say I love you in a song." Well, to me, this is Moshe saying, I'm leaving. I won't be back. I'll have to say I love you in a song. Who does he love? First of all, he loves the Holy One as God. Second of all, he loves those who are gathered around him on the mountain there and on the plains of Moab. And thirdly, he loves everyone who will ever read his story, hear his song, be a participant in the song of the ages. So he teaches them a song. Why? So they can take this song with them. We can take this song with us. You can tell everybody this is your song, Elton John, a later songwriter, would say in secular music. You can tell everybody this is your song, Moshe might say in a spiritual sense. And everywhere you go, you can take this song with you. As you freewheel through human history, you can take this song with you, and it will be your North Star. It will be your compass north. It will be your magnetic draw that calls you. It will be the highest landmark on the surroundings that you may guide your way by, that you may learn to navigate around and by. This song is the story that will take you through the ages, through all the trials and the tribulations and difficulties of life. Why would he want to do this? Why would this be Moshe's sense of his purpose? He wants to make sure that we never, nor our children's children, none in any generation completely lose sight of or disconnect from the Holy One's prophetic end game. Not to lose sight of the fact that we are all pawns in this great plan, that we are all participants in this great story, the greatest story ever told on earth, the great drama of human history. We have a role to play in it, and we should never lose sight that there is an end game at play. There is a grand plan for the redemption of mankind as a species, bloodline by bloodline, and household by household, and even individual by individual as they will come. And there is a grand plan that corresponds to the first one, to redeem and restore creation to its original Edenic state of beauty and fruitfulness and shalom. Never lose sight of that. This song should tell you it's never about the events you're experiencing in the moment. It's never about how the trends look in your news or in your economic world or in your political world or in the military world. It is about the plan of the Creator of the universe. Well, we have come to the time of year here at the High Holy Days when it is our appointed time to sing songs of ascent. There are certain times in the year that we sing songs of ascent as we either physically or emotionally and spiritually and metaphorically go up to Jerusalem, go up to the holy place, the holy temple, the site, the place of Melchizedek's meeting of Abraham, the place where David bought the threshing floor from Arnon. The place where Shlomo built the temple. As we're going up, it's a steep ascent. We're going up from the valleys and the baselines, and now we're going up the steep ascent, and we sing these songs of ascent. You find them in the Psalms, in the book of Psalms, but the whole idea is we're in our season of singing. Is there a song rising in your heart? Is there a sense of rhythm and meter that you're being drawn forward? If you understand why there's fight songs and things like that for sports games, there's a way in which song moves you deep in the spirit, and motivates you to actually take steps and move forward and do things. Well, this is our season of singing and our season of songs of ascent. And our key at this time is to embrace our deliverer and to reconnect with and embrace and begin to flow in his divine deliverance protocols. It is also our time to shout for joy and to dance for delight. We have just come out of Yom Kippur, the holiest day of the year. That's not just a day we do sacramental things. It's not really a day we do sacramental things at all. It's a day in which we appear. We rehearse our own death and appear before the judgment seat of our King. Not because he's going to judge us for eternity or take us to heaven or take us to hell, because he is going to evaluate our progress and our maturity level based on and determine what we can do for the kingdom, in the kingdom for the next year, where we should be assigned and what we should be allotted in order to accomplish the goal for which he's designed us. This is our time to appear before him. Well, we've come through that conference. We entered it with a sense of hope and expectation, but also an understanding that there is a great gap between who we are called to be and what we have been empowered to do, and where we are and who we really have been acting like in our world. So he comes to fill that gap. That's the atonement, Kippur in Hebrew. He comes to fill in those gaps and to prepare us to make tikkun for all those things and to send us out whole again, fixed again, ready to go, pure, and give purity into the world. That's why we shout for joy. And that's why we dance for delight this time of year. That's why there's a song in our heart this time of year. This is our story. This is our song. We have been forgiven. We have been delivered. We have been sent forth into the world. Now, like calves released from the stall. Okay, so since this is our season for singing, we really need to understand what a song is in Hebrew. The Hebrew word most commonly used and used to describe Moshe's song here is shir. Plural shirim. If you may know about Song of Solomon, it's Shir HaShirim, the Song of all songs, the Song of songs in that process. Shir. What is a shir? Well, a shir is a song that gets stuck in your head. It's intended, it's designed, it's choreographed, it's drafted, it's written to get into your head. It has a message and it has a medium. It has a rhythm of ascendance and transcendence. It takes you out of the ordinary, out of the normal, and talks to your spirit in ways that awaken and motivate, inspire, empower, and activate. Well, that's what a song is. Think of a pilgrim song. If you want to take off and you want the pilgrims to follow you, if you're a leader of a pilgrim band, you start with a song and they begin to sing and refrain with you. And as you march, you sing a marching song, an army marching song, a cadence or whatever. This is a shir. And so we are in our season of Shirim. Who's our singer? Who's the lead singer? Well, of course, we're going to read about the song of Moshe, but Moshe is not the lead singer either. The lead singer is the Holy One himself. He's the great singer of all songs. He's the one who wrote the song of creation. If you understand what Genesis 1 is, it's a song of creation all the way through chapter 2, verse 3 at least. It's a song of creation. It's a rhythm, a meter, repeating phrases. It's a song. So Moshe will end Torah, the 5 books, basically with this song, and he will begin with the same rhythm, the same beat as we go into the song of creation in Genesis 1 and 2. So if we understand what a shir is, we can understand that we are about to be empowered and inspired by what Moshe is going to do. All right. There are so many songs in the Torah and the scriptures all through. Everything is about song. We get to the book of Revelation and we see these songs culminate in the grand heavenly courtrooms. In Revelation 4, we're invited to come up here, and then from that point forward, we see everything from heaven's perspective, and we keep hearing song after song after song. We realize that this is the way heaven works. This is the way the kingdom on earth will work as well. Now, the thing about Hebrew shirim is different than more English songs or things like that, is that in Hebrew that we don't use rhyme. In the Hebrew poetry and song, we don't use end of the line rhyme to make our point or to get the rhythm going. We use instead parallelism, a sense of this phrase, and then we build on it or contrast it or do something in a second phrase. So if you see the Song of Moshe, it's chapter 32, verses 1 through I think 43. If you go see that passage, you'll understand that each verse that we see in English, in our English Bibles, is actually a set of parallels. There's a prior statement followed by a subsequent statement. There's an antecedent and a subsequent. And these issues are how you read that there is power in each verse, and overall it's an empowering movement to get you going. It's about early time, seed time, and harvest. The first part of the verse is usually seed time. The second half of the parallel is usually harvest time. There are sequences of time that pass between the two, and yet they are one consistent whole. The idea is the continuity of the Holy One, the plan that exists throughout all the ages, all the generations. He is indeed a steadfast king. Okay, so we have this basic idea of Hebrew parallelism, and the idea is to recognize each verse is not like an English verse of a song. It is a parallel that tells you end times will be at the end, and the first of times, beginnings of time, how it all started, will be at the beginning. I believe I've seen a lot of memes on social media these days that have how it started, one picture, and then how it's going, second picture. This is kind of the Hebrew parallelism, kind of a mindset that you'll see in each verse of the song. What is the special power of shirim, of songs, the Hebrew songs in their way? Well, it's a way to impact us at levels that ordinary conversation cannot. You've all known songs that stir your heart, that move you, that you just hear the first few strains of maybe the music or maybe the words, and immediately you're transported into a different realm, maybe a time in the past, maybe a sense of hope for the future. But whatever it may be, this is the power of shirim. They have to do this for us. All right, I'm going to move ahead a little bit. The power of song will work its way through this parsha, through Parsha Ozinu. As we give ear, we're going to find that this is a song about the lost, but it's also a song about the found. We're going to find out it's a song about the ransomed, and it's also a song about the redeemed, what people do or should do or must do when they've been ransomed, and what a redeemed person should look like. So, there's this place in Psalm 102 that I love to refer to this time of year, and it goes like this, beginning in verse 18 through 22 of Psalm 102. The words of the psalmist are this: "This will be written for the generation to come," and boy, is that ever Moshe's song. "This will be written for the generations to come, that a people yet to be created, that have not reached their perfection, may praise the Holy One. For he will look down from the height of his sanctuary. From heaven, the Holy One will view the earth. He will hear the groaning of the prisoner, and he will release those who have been appointed to death, to declare the name of the Holy One in Zion, and his praise in Yerushalayim, in Jerusalem, when the nations are gathered together, and the kingdoms to serve the Holy One." This psalmist rendition or paraphrase of the Song of Moshe tells the story in just a few words. There is a time coming when the nations of the earth, The peoples, the ethnicities, the kingdoms of this earth will come together. They'll be drawn together inexorably by the power of Mashiach and by the power and the calling of the harvesters. And the kingdoms will come to serve the Holy One. And we are at different locations as we read this song each year, as we sing it, as the melody begins to waft over our hearts, as these things become and we see them unfold before our eyes. These things remind us we are just part of the bigger picture. The nations are being gathered together, one by one, slowly, one up one hill and down one valley, until the kingdoms will all serve the Holy One. So with that in mind, if you would you join me for our call to worship? I'll consider it my honor if you'll sing with me, or if you'll just quietly listen and hopefully be inspired as the Hebrew language speaks directly to your spirit. Baruch hu Adonai Hamvorach. Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Leolam Vayet. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amin v'natan lanu et Toratu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. And now open our eyes, O Holy One, that we may see wondrous things in your Torah. For we are but strangers in this earth, so do not hide your commandments from us. As we begin to jump off into this beautiful song, into this is your story, this is your song, you can tell everybody this is our song. This is the context. The context comes, and I'll give you a few verses out of Deuteronomy 31 that kind of leads into, prepared a segue into this song, into this climactic conclusion of Moshe's revelation string. In chapter 31, verse 19, Moshe said, well, actually the Holy One was speaking to him, and it's the words of the Creator of the universe himself speaking to Moshe next to last time. He says, now therefore write down this shirah, this song, for yourselves. This is for you. This is not something this is for us. Write down this shirah for yourselves and teach it to Bnei Israel. That's all the generations of the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Put it in their mouths. This song should be in our mouths, that this song may be a witness for me, says the Holy One, a witness unto, a testimony unto Bnei Israel. So we're getting this idea that this is a formal scene, and there is something about this song that calls forth something from us, that this is a testimony to us. And then it goes forward in verse 30, I believe it is. And Moshe spoke in the hearing of Kol Halal Yisrael, the whole of the witness throng of Israel. All the words, et direh, of this shirah, of this shir, of this song, al tamim, until its completion, until it reached wholeness and brought about perfection. This is a long-term effect that this song is designed to have. So with one more section about the purpose is right between those two verses I read you. In chapter 33, verses 21 and 22, Moshe begins to speak, or the Holy One actually is speaking, and he tells Moshe the purpose, the intended impact of the shir that he's going to sing, that we're going to talk about today. The Holy One says, it will come to pass, when many evils and troubles have come upon them, being the generation of Bnei Israel, that this song will testify unto them as a witness. I think some English Bibles say against them. But this song will testify to them, unto them, as a witness. For it will not be forgotten in the mouths of their seed. For all generations, this song will be reverberating in our spirits, waiting to be awakened by the right time, the right calling, the right impetus. Okay. And therefore Moshe wrote this song. the same day. And he taught it to Bnei Israel, and he's teaching it to us still. I call it the Song of the Harvest, or Let Joseph's Bones Arise. Let there be a Ezekiel 37, bone unto bone, resuscitation, breathing of the breath, and every generation let the bones of Joseph arise. All of the Torah story, all of creation story, all of the kingdom story is about Joseph and his brothers. We are indeed in the midst of the throes of that great story. This is our story. This is our song. Well, Moshe is going to use a dramatic methodology. He's been taught it by the Holy One. He's going to teach it to Bnei Israel. We'll teach it to our children over and over again. And this dramatic opera uses names, uses characters for the story. We have the minstrel, and that's Moshe. Moshe acts as the minstrel, and he's the narrator, as it were, of this great opera. And then we have the leading man. And the leading man is going to be introduced to you as not by some name you think of. He's going to be introduced to you and called pretty much throughout this entire song by the designation Hatsur, the Rock. We're going to learn to know him as the Rock. Okay, so leading man, the Rock. Leading lady is going to be identified as Bnei Israel. And then in her worst moments, she will be given another name, another attributive, Yeshurun. So she is Bnei Israel. That's who she's called to be. Many times, unfortunately, we are not Bnei Israel. We are the alter ego of Bnei Israel, and that comes forth as Yeshurun. So we have the narrative minstrel, the narrator or minstrel, when you Moshe. We have Hatsur, the leading man. We have Bnei Israel / Yeshurun, the leading lady. We have two witnesses who are called. They are Hashemayim, Ha'adamah, the heavens, and the earth. That should take you back to Genesis chapter 1, in the very beginning of the story, which we were getting, and this is all a part of it. We are the witnesses, are the heavens and the earth, the first things created. We'll witness to the end, the very end of the story. And then there, of course, what we will view in this great opera as the antagonist. The song will speak of things, and we will initially at least think of these as our adversaries, but we will find out that our adversaries do not remain adversaries in the latter days. When the great culmination and the great harvest occurs, these adversaries don't look like adversaries to us anymore at all. They look like dear friends that we misunderstood and that misunderstood us, and therefore acted very badly toward one another in the beginning of the time. Who are the antagonists that turn into our beautiful, beloved friends, our brothers? Who are the Joseph's brothers in our story? It will be the Goyim, the Gentiles, the nations, the cultures, the ethnicities of the world that are stand immediately now in opposition, in counterbalance to Bnei Israel. And these will be our best friends. And the real antagonists we will find are their gods, their sovereigns, their thoughts of what is important in life. Those will be our real antagonists, and the people themselves were just deluded, just deceived, just needing to sing a song. We have a song to sing. They need to hear and will hear our song. So this is indeed the song of the harvest, let the bones of Joseph arise. I want to go on into the song. I want to read a little bit in Hebrew to you, and I'll speak a little of the English translation as best as I can. This is ancient Hebrew that is deeper than the sound of English language can ever reach. And so it touches places in you that I want to read the Hebrew rather than just the English. Your English may touch your mind, but the Hebrew will touch your spirit and your soul. So the Moshe song begins. Ozinu hashemayim v'adeberach. Your ears, O heavens, I will speak. V'tishma ha'aretz imrefi, and earth, tune into this and shema the sayings of my mouth. Ya arov kamatar ki. My teaching, my artistry will drop and trickle like the rain, the matar. Tizal kital imrati. My sayings will condense in droplets like the dew. Kis irim ale deshe. Like droplets on the tender plants. Vikirivim ale esef. Like a shower or heavy rain on the more mature plants. Well, I want to go on into that a little bit. Let's see if we can get more specific. The minstrel's call to attention is how this all begins. This is this song, the Moshe song, that will last throughout all generations and awaken at some stage in the lives of all children and seed of Bnei Israel all the way to the end of days. This song's unique call to attention, its own Shema Yisrael, is what we just read. Ha'azinu. Ha'azinu v'tishmeu. And give ear and Shema. You can compare a little bit to Bob Dylan's, if you want to get secular, Bob Dylan's "Come Gather Round Children Wherever You Roam." That's idea from the hard rains, from the times they are changing. Now, this is the song's unique Shema Israel. And what does it say? Ha'azinu ha'shemayim va'adebra. Give ear, O heavens, for I will speak. V'tishma haaretz imripi. And hear, tune into, O earth, these are the words of my mouth. Always think as we look through these parshas about what are they, who, what, when, where, why, how, and where have we heard this before? Also, what are the hints? What is it talking about? This story is ripe with all the stories of the Torah. This song contains a reference to all the patriarchal narratives, the creation narratives, to the flood narratives, to the Exodus narrative, to the idea of what happened to us in Egypt and the bondage. All these themes that the Torah has been announcing will be brought forth in this song. Now, the Hashemim, the Mayim, the heavens. There is life in the heavens. It's not just some abstract idea. There are creatures, living creatures. There are 24 elders enthroned. There is a great throne on which the Creator of the universe Himself sits and rules and reigns. We believe there's Mashiach is seated on His right hand, the Lamb, as it's referenced in the book of Revelation. There's activity, there is sound, and this is called to witness. It's almost as if Moshe is saying, for just a moment, hold your peace and listen to what I am saying. He also speaks to the earth, ha'aretz. What is ha'aretz? Ha'aretz is the ecosystem that we have to live in. God has given us a place to actually, we can breathe air that doesn't kill us. We can have temperatures that we can be sustained, so can sustain life. We have nurturing plants and species of creatures that allow us to eat and replenish. We have protocols for generational reproduction. We have all sorts of everything we need for life and for godliness is here upon this earth. So Moshe stops, as it were, and calls the Hashemayim to listen, and calls the earth as well to respond. This is not just words intended for human beings. This is for all of the created order to respond to. His statement of purpose then is as follows. He says, I will teach. L'chak, it means to take. This is going to be my take. This is going to be what I take from all the stories that I've given to you so far, from all the testimonies of the patriarchal stories, the creation story, the narrative, all the things that have happened, all the narrative of the Exodus and the great wilderness wanderings, all these things. This is my take, he says. Let me give you my take. And take it to heart. This idea of a take is from the Hebrew verb lakach, lamed, kuf, and chet, and it means to reveal an insight obtained under artistic inspiration. Actually, the lachaking part is the getting the insight under an artistic inspiration, and then to take it means to begin to flow in it, and then to reveal it. So he's going to teach, and his teaching is going to be, he says, like drops of rain. his take is going to fall in different, on some it's going to fall as drops of rain, matar, which is the pouring rain that you need before the crop begins to grow. It's kind of an awakening kind of rain. And then the other is going to be as the distillation of dew, tal in Hebrew, the mist of the night, to overshadow, to cover, the things that gently fall. Once the growing season begins, this is to keep the moisture coming. So we have, depending on who you are, where you are, what your situation is, and what each generation's situation may be as it hits them, this song is going to fall perfectly upon them to do what it needs to do to bring forth the productivity of life. So he's going to lachak, and as drops of rain for some, as a distillation of dew for others. And his speech, his take, will also be a discourse. From the verb amar, it means to inspire, to encourage, to speak out of that inspiration. And it's going to fall, he says, going parallelism again. He's going to, first of all, it's going to fall as raindrops on tender herbs, like on the sprouts, the desha, the sprouting ground. This is where they're most tender. And so as raindrops uniquely are designed not to destroy plants, so it will be. His words will be nurturing and nourishing. There will be some level of violence where they hit us, but they will not. They're programmed to instead to heal, as if it hits us when we're in the tender herb stage. But it also will fall as showers, as rabibim, heavy showers on grass or on plants or on vegetation that has full-grown maturity with seed in it. They can stand more rain. Let the rains come. Open up the floodgates of heaven and let it rain. So, we have the basic introduction of the theme of the song and what Moshe is going to do. Now let's get his statement of purpose, chapter 32, verses 2 and 3. He says, Ya'arov kamatar lechi, let my take drop as the rain. Tizal katal imrati ki isarim, my poetic utterance distill as the dew. Ale deshe bekik revim ale ase, and as raindrops on spreading plants and on showers. And he's stating his purpose here. And then he says, Kishem Adonai achara. Kishem Adonai achara. I will cry out, call forth the Shem, the character, the attributes, the nature of the Holy One. This is how he's going to start the song. And if we don't get this, the rest of the song will not fall into our hearts. It will be like heavy showers on tender plants. We will miss the point. We will not be able to grow out of it. This is what Moshe is going to do before he tells us the story and get to the dark days of Yeshurun, when she turns as a shrew away from Bnei Israel. Before we understand that, he is going to call out the attributes of the Holy One, that we might know who it is that we're serving, that we are dealing with. And it says, Havu gadul la Eloheinu. I will ascribe greatness to our God. Now, again, where did this all come from? This all comes from part of the story. Remember the Song of the Sea? All those verses, all those phrases were in there. All right, achara, to proclaim, to declare, to publicize, to recite out loud, to make an outcry with passion. What will Moshe be doing? He will with passion be declaring the nature, the character, the attributes of the Holy One. Havu, and the second part of the parallelism, after he akaras, he will havu. He will ascribe. He will. It's from yahav, means to give over, surrender, possession of. It's like you have something that belongs to somebody else, and you've been holding on to it, but it's time to deliver it. Well, that's what Moshe is doing. He's been holding on to this praise, to this hallelujah. He's been holding on to this ascription of glory and greatness and goodness to the creator of the universe, to the king who's led him all these years, these 120 years, and guided his every step along the way. He has been holding on to it, but it's time to deliver it, to hold it over and to surrender possession. Havu, he says, I will deliver, to ascribe greatness to our God. That's who he's calling our Eloheinu, our God, our sovereign, our majesty, our leader, our senior covenant partner. And so he begins to do that. He introduces then the Holy One as our rock. setting the tone. He introduces the leading man as Hatsur. Hatsur. Let's kind of discuss about that. Moshe wants us, and he wants our seed in all generations to know 6 essential things about who exactly it is that we are dealing with. This is important to know before we look at details. Who we're dealing with is more important than any given detail in this story. Because who we are dealing with will change the way the story ends. Will help us understand how the story ends the way it does, with all the nations coming, being gathered together, and we finding out these are our friends, although their gods were our adversaries. This will be, how do we understand that? How do we understand that God does not just get angry at us and judge us and slap us and turn away from us and change the plan and wad up the piece of paper that he was writing on, throw it away, and trash the clay that he was using on the potter's wheel? Why does he not have an emotional reaction, a knee-jerk reaction? Because you see, he is who he is. There is in him no shadow of turning. He is not an emotional basket case like most human beings are. He does not react to things that he sees the way human beings do. He always fits it into the plan and does what is necessary to make the plan come into fruition. So Moshe wants us to know 6 essential things about who it is we're dealing with, who he is, and he will also want us to know who he isn't. Moshe wants us to know what the Holy One does, and he wants us also to know what he will never do. These are important things for us to know. I wish that we knew them better than we do. Wish we understood this before we started trying to interpret events of history, or current events, or judge people at their present state based upon their present behavior or conduct. I wish we knew who he was, who we were dealing with, what he is, who he is and who he isn't, what he will do, and what he would never do. Now, if you compare where Moshe thinks we all need to be as we start this song, think about Abraham in Genesis 15 and then verse 18. There's 2 dialogues he has with the Holy One. Don't have time to read those passages. You can think about what they are. First, Abraham's trying to question the Holy One about heirship and how will he possibly inherit the land, and then he gets to a place of trust with that. Then he gets down in chapter 18, 3 chapters later, according to our narrative of it at least, and this is the great visit to his tent in the heat of the day, as it's called in the English, when the visitors came, and after the meal is prepared and Moshe walks out with them going towards Sodom and Gomorrah, he has a dialogue with the Holy One. He says, surely the King of righteousness, the righteous one of all, will not do unrighteousness. No, these are the kind of ways we're having this discussion, and Moshe will talk about it. Moshe himself has a similar story to tell, as do we all. At first, Moshe didn't know anything about the Holy One. He had been raised in an Egyptian household. Egyptian gods had been the gods of his people, even though he realized there was a Hebrews, but he wasn't really part of that company, part of that nation. He wasn't part of their faith. He wasn't part of their walk. He wasn't part of their experience. And then happened the burning bush. And the burning bush was his first inquiries. And who are you? And who should I tell the people that I've seen and is talking and said all these things? And he doesn't know him yet. And that's just step 1. That's like Abraham's chapter 15. We get to chapter 18, the story for an Abraham story, Genesis 18. We now see it happened at the cleft of the rock. In Exodus 33, 34, in the cleft of the rock, Moshe really finds out who the Holy One is and who he isn't, and what he does and what he would never do. Until then, Moshe did not understand that. Hopefully for all of us, this is going to be a time of the year. Each year we go through this process, it will be a time when we learn who the Holy One is and who he isn't. And when we begin to teach our children who he is and who he isn't. And we need to learn what he does and be able to teach our children what he would never do. So he is identified by the name, by the designation, Hatsur. That's why I don't get too freaky about what denomination or name people call the Holy One, because Moshe's song doesn't use that phrase primarily either. The issue is, do you know who he is as Hatsur? He is the rock. And basically, if you understand what sewer, there are many words in Hebrew, several words in Hebrew to discuss stones, rocks, pebbles, that sort of thing, the idea of that which appears in creation. But a sewer in particular is a very heavy pressing stone. Think about the stone in the olive press. Think about the stone that is used as a tool. Think about a stone that separates flesh from oil, as in the olive press works. As the olives are pressed under the stone, under the sur, under hatsur, we find out what is flesh, and that is separated out. And we find out what is oil, and that is kept and used and dispersed throughout the world. So, hatsur, where have we heard this phrase before? Well, the first time we heard this phrase was in Exodus chapter 17, verse 6. And this is whenever there was no water, and the Holy One told Moshe, I'll provide water to you for the people in the wilderness from Hatsur, the source of our rock. Now, this out of the rock will come forth the living waters. And that's what took place. Exodus chapter 17, verse 6, the rock from which the living water came was drawn. That is who he is to us. Is the Holy One that for you? Is he the rock from which the living water comes? Or are you looking for it in religion or philosophy or politics or science or medicine? Where is your living water coming from, beloved? This is the challenge of the song of Moshe. Do you understand him to be Hatsur? Is he not? He's not a theological construct, an abstract idea. He's not a demanding person wanting you to call him a certain name before you'll, like Mother May I. You say the right words, the magic words before. No, he is the rock. He is there to draw, to bring forth and give to you the water, living waters of life. Second time we saw Hatsur, as mentioned previously in the Torah, was at the cleft of the sur, the cleft of the rock. And that's where the Holy One took Moshe to reveal to him his midot, his characteristics, his attributes, who he really is. Beyond titles and names, and it's more important than what he asked at the burning bush, which is what shall I tell them? Who shall I tell them? No, this is more important. More important is the midot. And so the Holy One declared not only his name, but then he again said, "This is but who I really am is merciful, compassionate, slow to anger, faithful to covenant, forgiving sin and unrighteousness, and even rebellion, keeping covenant with generation after generation." This is the issue of that. He is the rock. That's where we've seen Hatsur before. Now, with that in mind, perhaps you understand why Yeshua spent his last hours with his disciples in Gethsemane, the place of the olive press. And everything he did was to have the flesh removed and the oil began to pour forth. He chose Gethsemane because of this, for any reasons, but one of the things that happened there was the olive press, the pressing stone of the Hatsur. Okay, so Moshe wants all generations of Bnei Israel. He wants you, he wants me, he wants our children to know that we don't have gods like other cultures do. We have Hatsur. We have a fountain of living water waiting to release that water over us. Do you know that? Do you understand that is who we serve? Not a god like the gods of the nations. It can be put onto a stained glass window. Not someone who would be contained in an image on a photograph or on a portrait. He is Hatsur. He is flowing, pulsing with life. He does not show up in images and relate like the gods of the nations, the icons and the images of the nations do. We do not have gods like other cultures. Teach your children, beloved. Understand for yourself. We do not have gods like they have gods. We have Hatsur. The other thing he wants us to understand is not only do we have Hatsur, we have the only Hatsur that exists. The other nations, Lord help them. Heaven help them. The other nations do not have a Hatsur. They don't have the stream of living waters. That is why it's so important that we do not get angry at them. We do not overreact to them. We have to survive, but we need to make sure that their time to come to know Hatsur as well will be able to come in time. All right. The Holy One is described by Moshe a little further. He says, Tamim Pa'olo, the things he wants us to know, beyond the Hatsur designation of who he is. He wants us to know about his work. The works, what kind of works does he, what does he do? In Hebrew, the word that we translate work is pa'al. It means an artisan's handiwork. It's like if it's a painter, what is an artist painter, artistic painter. It would be what's on the canvas. What kind of product he puts on the canvas. What kind of pottery he produces in the kiln or in the potter's house. What kind of construction he builds. Whatever is an artisan's handiwork. His work, and Moshe says, his song begins, Umim Pa'olo. All his works are what? Tamim. They are perfecting. They're always about producing wholeness, wellness, completion. He is not everything. We misunderstand perfection so much because it's an English word. But in Hebrew, tamim is a different mindset. The idea of tamim is it is on course to make things whole, mature, complete. If it's on course, then tamim. You would say, but it's not perfect yet. He said, oh, that's not even the issue. The issue is it heading in that direction. Now, this should change your entire perspective about how you do the Torah, how you walk in the mitzvah, the instructions of living in the Torah. The Torah is perfect. The Torah is whole, mature. Our interpretation and our engagement with it is at a lower level, but as long as we're engaging with it, then we are being put on the course that leads to perfection and wholeness and wellness. Okay. He talks about the fact that the Holy One's works are always perfecting, always producing wholeness. If we do his works, if we walk with him and do his works, do what he does, everything we do will be about perfecting and producing wholeness in people. The Holy One does not chase the wind. He does not get distracted or get all up in his head or overthink things. He doesn't go down rabbit trails. Nothing that he thinks or says or does is ever vanity or vain. It's never idle words or actions. Everything he does is all productive. It is all fruitful. It is all strategic. We don't know this before going into the deeper parts of this song, before the darker days of Yeshurun and what she does and how she leaves behind her alter ego of B'nai Israel at times for seasons. Then this will bother us. But if we know that his works are always perfecting, always producing wholeness, we know that he is not going to let that be the end result at any given time. He doesn't win. Everything he does is productive, fruitful, and strategic. So it is with our lives. So it is with our failures. No, we should not rejoice in our failures. We should, however, understand who we serve, who is our Chatzur, who is our rock, and what he will do, and how he can redeem and restore. And he can do it for us, and if he can do it for us, and he can, do you know that he can do it for the worst of sinners? For the people that you want to judge and you want to condemn and you want to avoid and you want to blame based on their present or current or past behavior or their attitude. It's a shocking revelation. Tamim, Pa'olo, his works are perfect and producing perfection and wholeness. He knows what he's doing. He does all things well. And every brush stroke he puts on the canvas is genius. And every hammer strike that he hits on the gem is perfect. If you've ever seen a gemologist or a diamond smith working with the hammer and cutting that diamond, chipping off the parts, you understand how every stroke is so critically important. And he is a master at doing that. That's what the Holy One does. That's who he is, who we serve. His ways. Now, that's his works, but his ways. What are his ways? I think that's a term that's misunderstood a lot. His ways in this ancient culture would mean his skill, his ability to lead as a shepherd. The psalmist in Psalm 23, David talks about the Holy One is my shepherd, and then he talks about the ways in which he leads, the paths of righteousness. His ways are how he leads as a shepherd. And the question about a shepherd is always, will he lead me to safe places? Will he lead me to grass? Will he lead me to water? Will he lead me where there's safety and protection, or will he lead me into a dangerous area? If we know his ways, who is he? Who is this we're serving? He has great shepherd leading abilities and skills. What the Moshe actually says in his song is, Kikol drachav mishpat. All his ways are, and we English read it, just. All his shepherd's paths are just or justice. But that's really not the right word. Those justice and justice are abstract concepts from the English mindset. They are Greek thinking. They don't have anything to do with this Hebrew phrase of mishpat. Mishpat means wisely decided for maintaining and perpetuating the efficient operation of an ecosystem, or for fulfillment of a long-term plan. It is not about justice as the English world would think about it. It is about perpetuating, bringing about, fulfilling the plan, and taking care, nurturing, and keeping alive the ecosystem. That's what his ways are. That's what the shepherd's paths are. Where have we heard this before? Genesis chapter 18, verse 19. The Holy One is talking about Abraham. He says, why shall I hide from him what I'm doing? And he goes on and says that I will do in order that he may teach other people to walk in my ways, and his children, his household after him, to do righteousness and mishpat in this process of doing what is good for the ecosystem and will eventually bring about the fulfillment of the latter days plan. Note, the Holy One will never be like human beings and get offended and zone out on you. He will never, no matter what you do, ever reject you as the seed of Abraham, reject you as the ones called to be Bnei Israel. Though he will discipline, though he will allow consequences in individual lives and over generations, he will always bring you back. That's why Paul could say, Shaul could say, with utter confidence, all Israel will be saved. That doesn't mean what you think it means, perhaps. It means that they will all be brought back into the grand plan and redeemed in that regard. So the Holy One will never get offended, emotional, all tied up in his emotions over you. Everything he does is strategic and part of a brilliant plan. Now, not only does the Holy One need to tell us that he is, his works are good and his ways are good. It says there's the next thing is his trustworthiness, his steadfastness. The way Moshe puts it in his song is El emunah ve'ein avel sadiq ve'yashar hu. He is a God of faithfulness. He has no crookedness in him. He is straightforward, meeting specifications like Noah. He sticks to the plan and blueprint and completes the project. He is straight and upright. He's yashar, from the verb root of ashrei, which ashrei, ha'ish, blessed is the man. It's not just about blessedness, though. It's about the fact you're going straight, going on target, and therefore there's a sense of joy and purpose that goes with it. He has that. That's who he is. Have you know who he is? So if you've heard this before, this was the kind of example of emunah. It comes from Exodus 17:12, when the Amalekites are attacking. Moshe, this battle went according to how Moshe's hands were. And it says that Moshe's hands were uplifted and they were emunah. They were steady, purposeful. They were effectively engaged and uplifted until the dawn, going down of the sun. No, the Holy One will not grow weary. He will not get tired. He will not get bored with you. He will not abandon the plan when things get tough. Yeshurun. So there's a fifth, the thing he would never do. What would he never do? Moshe says in his song, Shichet lo banav. He is not a corrupter. He is not a destroyer. He is not one who brings about negative things. And nor are his children. If you're talking about his true children, his children will not do that. They will not corrupt what they touch. They will not bring division or separation in ways that will be destructive at any time. This is not who he is. Do you know that? He's not trying to ruin you. He's not trying to kill you in a sense of destroy your purpose or your meaning. He is wanting to separate, as the Hatzur, the stone and the olive press does. He wants to separate the flesh from you. But he wants to make sure the spirit comes alive and the oil comes forth. So where have we heard this issue of corruption before? About the world corrupts, but the Holy One cures corruption. He is the tikkun for corruption, the healing for corruption. Well, everything of Genesis 6 and the Holy story of the flood, the man had corrupted himself, and he had corrupted the creation as well. And that's the state we find ourselves in today. Men, everything man does, even though it may look good for a short period of time, some things they build, scientific discoveries they make, art, music, science, whatever they may come up with, what man come up with may look good for a few moments. But what you find in the long run is it's always destructive in its content and its nature. It always destroys something that is more valuable than what it provides for you. If you don't understand this about this, you'll be tempted to follow the ways of man. You'll be seduced by their product. But the Holy One is the one who does not corrupt. What he does brings about life, health, and peace. What kind of people are his people? And what kind of people are not really his people? What kind of people are Bnei Israel? And what kind of people are Yeshurun? Well, what Moshe's song says about all that is Mumam dor ikesh uftal. Let me say it again. Mumam dor ikesh uftal. A crooked, a deceitful generation, one who takes a crooked path, one who misleads other people, that is not his people. One who is contorted and contentious and divisive and wants to argue over everything, that is not his people. So understand where you are right now. Which side are you on the Yeshurun side, and have you ceased to be his people, or are you on the Bnei Israel side? Straight paths, bringing about healing, wholeness, wellness, headed towards the plan, the ultimate redemptive plan. Those are the 6 things. I've gone through them one at a time. The 6 things Moshe wants us to know, wants every generation of Bnei Israel to know, wants our children, our children's children to know about who he is and who he is not. And that brings us, as we conclude our time this morning, before we have our individual studies with different groups, the ultimate question I'll leave you with is, in light of who the Holy One is and isn't, and in light of what he has done for us and is doing for us and has promised to continue to do for us and is faithful and trustworthy to do for us and in the world and for his creation, how should we and how should we not respond to him? What is our appropriate level of response? How should we behave? How should we structure our lives? How should we respond to what Hatzur has said and who he is and what he has done? How should we fit into this plan? I will leave you with that question to meditate upon. If you are watching from another location, I'm sure you are, please leave your name and the location where you're viewing from, any questions, any comments, any prayer requests that you might have. May be blessed as you go into these high holy days, into the feast of Sukkot that awaits us. This is time for your song to arise. This is time. This is our season of singing songs of ascent. This is our season for reconnecting with the song of Moshe and the inspiration of it and the identity of who it is we serve, and knowing all things will work together for good for those who love him, who are called according to his purpose. So sing the song, my beloved. Sing, Zion. Amen.